Israel is preparing for a ground invasion. Joining me live from Sderot in the south of Israel is CNN reporter Nic Robertson. Nic, thanks so much for your stellar reporting and your time as it goes 2:30 a.m. where you are. What is the very latest on the ground in Sderot?
Yeah, we're literally a mile from the border fence here with Gaza, and in the past 10 minutes, while we've been listening to your broadcast here, there have been huge explosions behind us, big detonations. We've had a few big missile strikes through the night. It's not been as active as it has been sometimes, but there's lulls and it picks up, and right now it seems to be picking up. There are explosions that really are very hard to tell exactly what's going on. They're bigger than some of the explosions we've heard before. We've heard heavy machine gun fire. All of this plays out just across the border inside Gaza, or the heavy machine gun fire just inside on the Israeli side here. But the sense of a military preparation, of troops being increasingly ready for the next, what's expected for them to be the next phase of the fight against Hamas, that really is moving apace. Sderot here today, the last of the civilians were evacuated. The mayor asked them to leave. He said, "I'm not forcing you to go, but I really strongly advise you to leave." So there were some people bussed out earlier today. 2-3 hours ago, we had an incoming barrage of rockets fired by Hamas. They were intercepted by the Iron Dome rocket interceptor defense system here, which has been active every day, several times a day generally. But that was a big barrage this evening. We can hear the jets. You're just hearing one right behind me right now. Often when you hear them, we might get a flash on the horizon as a missile impacts and hear a big explosion later. Hard to tell, but that's the pattern of activity we're getting in the past few hours here.
Nic, that is quite an extraordinary picture you paint there this morning. We just spoke to the IDF and Jonathan Conricos saying, essentially admitting that Israel has held back on some of that air assault because of the civilians still in that northern part of Gaza. We asked him about the ground invasion as well. This is looking more likely as the hours wear on. How soon could we see this in your view?
Potentially over the next couple of days. We were with troops training today for an incursion. They were lined up in their vehicles in a field. You had tanks, infantry, combat engineers, and the idea was to get them ready to go in as a combined force. So they were training, movements to do that. We also saw IDF troops training in a mocked-up Palestinian town, concrete town. There were mosques, stores, houses, and they were training for sort of urban warfare in that environment. Again, the sort of environment that they're going to go into when they go into Gaza. But the problem they face is, and it was the last incursion into Gaza, 2014, Hamas is telling civilians to stay put. The IDF back then was telling the civilians to move south, just as they are now. And I was talking earlier on this evening with a veteran of the 2014 conflict, and he said, look, we were told by the Israeli Defense Forces the civilians would be gone. The reality is they weren't, and it was a high conflict zone. Of course, I was asking one of the commanders today who's going in, can you really go in and take out Hamas without getting civilian casualties? And he said, look, we're targeting the terrorists, we're not targeting the innocents. But he said, it's a difficult scenario. And the spokesman here told us, look, we've asked the civilians to move. Hamas is telling them not to. So the responsibility is on Hamas if the civilians are there. And I think the scenario can be expected to be similar again. Some civilians move south, some remain in their homes, and they'll be there potentially when and if the IDF do go in. And as I say, that could be in the next few days.
Nic Robertson live in Sderot in southern Israel, just a mile, as he said, from the border with Gaza. Extraordinary reporting from Nic and the team at CNN. We appreciate it.